Welcome everyone, Estenia Caputo here with Valence Fitness. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm really excited to be here with all of you. Boy, what great shows we've been having lately. We've had some people on board here that have shared their stories of adversity. We had a couple of weeks ago, we had an NFL player who was speaking more from the perspective of being like an aspirational speaker. And a lot of times I don't really incorporate individuals' businesses unless there is a need to do that. And so right now I'm going to pull up some information, which I had on my screen a second ago, to just give you some of that information on my next guest. Just to remind you, Valence Fitness came about to have individuals share stories of adversity and how we can become fit, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, socially, and even intimately during this time, especially this COVID time, where it has been really difficult. So how do we remain in good shape in all those areas? And so every guest that I've had on board has something to share. They are so open and humble, allowing us to really see into their lives and share with us what they've been through, but how they overcame these situations or how they worked within them and were able to turn things into a positive experience. So my next guest is actually the founder of the Ladies Artisan Market, LAM, goes by LAM, and the networking group for women. She has actually developed virtual networking groups, their in-person markets and mixers, and also, I love this, the educational opportunities to actually support the growth and the development and even, you know, connect the women in business, the women owners basically in the community. I've actually participated in some of her events and it's been great. I've watched her grow tremendously on social media. The groups have just gotten so large. So I'm really excited to hear more about that. She is also the owner and chief operator of Aesha Rose Event and Design. So that already sort of gives you an idea of who she is. I'd like you to meet Aesha Shapiro. Aesha, welcome.
Hi, thanks
Hi.
so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
Oh, well, you know, you are one at the top of the list. You were always someone I thought I definitely would love to have and come on here and talk to us about your experiences, especially because you were so open when I met you. You were able to share with me about your son, and I connected with you right away because I have my own experiences with my own son. And, you know, I think women who, you know, we're always having to work so hard, it seems, and we're always so caring of all our kids, but really when they have certain needs, it has to be highlighted. I think it's really important for women who go through these experiences that they feel that they're not alone. But the reason why we're bringing up the business, yes, is because it actually goes together with your son. And I'd love to hear how this came about. Can you share a little bit with us?
Yes, I would love to. So, God, my son's 6 now. So 6 years ago, I had this beautiful child. And unfortunately, right away, we knew something was up or wrong. It took about 5 months and 7 specialists and flights to Oahu and rigorous testing to really discover what it was. And it's called Prader-Willi syndrome. And it's basically a genetic issue that causes insatiable hunger. So these children, these adults that have this, they never feel full, ever, no matter what you do. They also have extremely low metabolisms. So it's a real double-edged sword with trying to keep their weight down and with their, you know, insatiable hunger, basically. It's very challenging. It's a spectrum. So some of these kids are, you know, not as hungry as say my son, but maybe have way harder time, you know, walking or talking. So every kid is a little bit different. So it's kind of hard to do a one size fits all treatment for these kids. And as of right now, there is no cure or treatment plan, really. He gets, I give him a shot every night of growth hormone. What that does is it increases your muscle mass, which increases metabolism, but it's helped a little. It's just the only thing they have right now. So it's been a real rocky road with this whole thing, but currently he's doing really well.
Well, that's good to hear. How old is he?
He's 6.
He's 6. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know that
Yeah.
I knew about this because I do have a dear friend who also has a daughter that has grown up with my daughter that has the same condition. And she has talked about the muscle mass and the hunger. And one thing I experienced with her, I remember when my daughter there were some boys that were teasing her daughter, and poking fun at her and pulling at her on the playground. And they were, I think, in first grade or something. And my daughter, she went right in there and she's like, she doesn't like that. And she pulled her away. But what she didn't realize is that her friend doesn't like to be touched either. So it had I don't know if some individuals have sensitivity, issues as well.
Yeah.
It's just,
My son does not like to be touched either.
okay.
Yeah, if he gets really mad and you touch him, oh my God, it's like a disaster. So that's similar. Yeah, because a lot of them have sensory issues and they get overloaded and overwhelmed and they have a hard time regulating their emotions. I mean, just like any 6-year-old would, right? I mean, it's not easy for adults sometimes to even regulate our emotions. So yeah, it's tough. And God, kids are just so mean sometimes to each other. It's very sad. But yeah, these kids are also known, which is really interesting to me, for their very like joyful dispositions, which I find really interesting because, like why genetically is that part of this syndrome, that they are all known to be very joyful. And my son Arrow he's just like this light, and as much as he struggles with being hungry, he still manages to be so happy. And so he's really the inspiration for me a lot of the times, because he's the big teacher here, going like, he knows how to be graceful in this nightmare scenario where he's always hungry. I mean, I just can't even imagine it. Think of your hangriest moment. That's how they always feel. It's hard to even fathom. Sometimes I'll go on like cleanses just so I can try to remember and connect that like this is his everyday life. And it really puts it in perspective for me when I'm feeling hungry on like a, nutritional cleanse or something for 2 weeks. And that's just 2 weeks in my life,
Yeah.
And for him, it's always. So he really is the grand teacher of tolerance and patience,
A lot of they teach us a lot. And they say that saying, because, I do believe in Jesus. They say that God gives you what you can handle. I believe he gives you exactly what you need to grow. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So you're learning then through him. And so they got the diagnosis for your son. Could you spell the actual diagnosis so people could, because
Yes.
I always had a hard time with that diagnosis. What was it?
Right. So, you can say it Prater or Prater. The men that discovered this are from England. So, it's kind of tomato. But it's Prader hyphen Willi, Willi. And that's syndrome. And basically, it's just the acronym is PWS. Mm-hmm. Is how a lot of people are refer to it. It's considered rare. In the US, I believe it's 1 in 15,000, and then globally it's 1 in 25,000. So it's rare, but not, but I don't know many people that have it.
Well, that must be sort of rough because, honestly, my son has a disorder, but it's 1 in 3,000 kids have it. So they said genetically, it's actually more prevalent than what you test in amnio, what my son has. And we don't have it in our family. It just was a spontaneous mutation, I guess, with him. But there are support groups for that here. It's hard, though, to connect with people. Some people deny, disorders, too. So have you been able to find any type of group that supports her or his disorder?
I gotta say, not really. It can feel really isolating at times. And even well-meaning family and friends, I mean, they don't quite get it. I can explain this over and over, and I still get friends and family offering him food when I've said no. I mean, it's like really challenging for people to fathom it, because I think that food is so ingrained in our culture. It's as like what we do to celebrate anything, right? Or just even going to the grocery store is hard for him to get through. Costco, oh my God, the samples, like it's a nightmare for us. Halloween, all these normal things, kids' parties, we don't go. We love being invited still, but we don't go because it's like taking an alcoholic to a liquor store and being like, hey, it's cool. It just doesn't work. So
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
yeah, it's you don't realize how much food is just a part of everything. I mean, we emotionally eat, we eat dinner, it's part of everything. So it can be really tough I feel alone a lot in this situation, but I do have some special needs mom friends, even though we're dealing with different things. That helps because we're all dealing with something extra, right? So it feels like there's support there. But no, specifically for Prader-Willi, it's been a little tough to find. I'm in some like Facebook groups and whatnot, but every kid is a little bit different too. So it's not like everyone's dealing with the exact same thing. But I keep seeking, support where I can. And I just do a lot of, mental support from my own self to try to get through this. I go see a therapist for my mental health. I work out. I eat very healthy. I've learned that I have to keep myself okay, or else it turns into a really like dramatic situation with him all the time. There's a lot of pushing and pulling about the food, and we lock our fridge. We have to lock our fridge every single night. We have to lock our pantry. We lock the interior doors to the inside of the house so that he can't escape and get out and go to the neighbors and ask them for food, which has happened. He's left the house and gone into other people's fridges in my landlord's house and gotten food out. So it's really serious and life threatening. And if a child were to be unchecked with this, they could eat so much, they could go septic and they could die. So it's very severe. So yeah, it's taking every day, it's like, okay, I can get through this day.
So you're not alone. My girlfriend told me I wasn't going to share that, really, but we're not talking about her on here, but she had to lock her cabinets and fridge too. So it's a struggle, I'm sure, every day. And so I'm going to dive a little deep here because you did share with me that, and you used a pretty harsh word when you described it. So I'm going to use it, abandoned by the dad.
Yes, that was fun. Unfortunately, a situation like this could really drive someone who isn't mentally strong or capable to make very bad choices. And, I went one way with this situation. Unfortunately, his father went a different way and turned to drugs and more drugs and, escapism. And I ended up obviously having to kick him out of my home. And my son was only 2 years old. At the time, I had no employment because I had to stay home with him. There was no one that could handle his needs at that time. He was not able to take my breast when he was first born. So I pumped for him 10 times a day, between 8 and 10, to make sure that he would have my milk. So I was just very focused on his care and could not at all go out and get a different job. So I was, a stay-at-home mother with a special needs son. And all of a sudden my partner was on meth and pills and turning into a different person.
So do you feel that came about because?
I think it was a big part of it. I think that, a lot of childhood trauma was also kind of just revealing itself through this situation. I don't know about you, but as a mom, I feel like your child is a mirror to your life and your own family trauma that you've had, and how you parent is a result of how your parents parented you, unless you've done some real work on like shifting some of these beliefs and patterns your parents have taught you, not meaning to, but them just doing their best, right? That generational stuff that just gets passed on and on. I just think that he was incapable of handling the level of stress that this is. And he just turned to his base of just escape and ignore.
So,
but you know what?
He left when he was really young then, and
Yeah, when he was 2, and we haven't heard from him since. But honestly, it's the best thing that ever could have happened for me, at least. I mean, it really showed me what I'm made of, and I'm grateful to him now, because without him, without him leaving us and abandoning us, nothing that I'm doing now would have happened, because I wouldn't have been driven to do so. You know, he left me with literally not $1. And so I was forced to immediately take action, because I was in pure panic and survival mode of like, what am I going to do? It felt like I was left in a burning house, you know, with bills that were piling up and lies and credit card debt, all these things. And I was just like, oh my God, how did I get here? You know, because you don't think that, you know, a woman like, I'm not the kind of woman that would ever be with a guy that does drugs like that. But you never know who you're dealing with or what will come up. And I was ashamed that this was happening to me, that I let this happen, that somehow I made some sort of a choice that would allow this to happen. So I was working through all kinds of things to like just rise up out of this nightmare.
yeah, well, that
You know,
wasn't a choice. What, you know, your son came to be the way he came to be, you know,
right.
and having someone not really be sure how to handle it, you know, you're not responsible for how they handle it. He's 6 now. So this happened, you said when he was 2 that your partner left. Were you married, or was he a partner?
No, we were not married.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't been around since, but so you found yourself in a place where you really need to strive for yourself and for your son. Did you have family that was supportive around?
Yes, thankfully, yes, my mom and dad are incredible grandparents and parents, and they were able to definitely help us. Just, you know, we ended up having to move out of our home. I had a 3-bedroom home on an acre that we lived in, a full home with furniture and a whole thing, and had to sell every single thing I owned and move in with my parents at, you know, God, I was, I think 38 at the time, or 39. So, you know, it felt a little tail between my legs having to move home with my child and all of that, but they were very supportive, and I couldn't have survived it without them. So yeah, that was very helpful.
Well, that's great. That's good that you have a good support system. And so what were you thinking? I mean, was this something that you were planning even when he was just born? Were you thinking, oh, you know, I'm going to be a working mom? Or were you thinking, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, taking care of my baby, having maybe more kids, and then life happens? What exactly happened?
Well, at the time I was working at the Four Seasons, and I just always assumed I would go back after the maternity leave. You know, they give a really nice maternity leave and package there. And I just assumed I would go back to that job, but it just was really obvious that I couldn't, with how extenuating the circumstances were and how, you know, big Arrow's needs were. So I had to stay home. I've always been a very independent woman who always likes to work. So I never wanted to only be a stay-at-home mom. I thought eventually I would get back into the workforce, but I didn't realize it would be like this entrepreneurial pursuit that it is now. You know, that organically came from the desperate need to support my kid and I.
Well, you couldn't go back to the original work that you were doing, or did you feel like it had to be something different that would suit your schedule, or what was it?
Yeah, I had to do something where I could be home with him, because like I said, there just wasn't anybody I could really trust with him, and the food situation, and he was just so little, and back then he wasn't talking yet. He still struggles with his speech, but he's doing so much better. So I couldn't be comfortable leaving my son with someone all day when he doesn't even talk. And I would never know what his experience was going to be from it, besides maybe just a change in his temperament. But I just wasn't going to be okay with that, not knowing all day how he was doing without him being able to tell me. So yeah, it just wasn't, there was just no way. I had to just do something from home. And what I had been doing at the time was refinishing furniture, just as kind of a hobby, and thinking about maybe starting it as a business. You know, because I've always been creative and loved to just do stuff. And it was a way for me to kind of channel some of this anxiety and stress that I was always under. So I would paint pots and, you know, paint furniture and, design, party decorations is what I always love to do. And so I was doing all this, his dad left, and I was like, how am I going to pay the rent? What am I going to do? And so I thought, okay, well, you know what? Just one day, this like thought popped into my head. I was driving, and it was, you need to have your own pop-up shop with your furniture. And I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. Why not? Other people do these pop-ups. Why can't I? I'll try it. And then I shared it with the girlfriend that this was my idea, that I was going to somehow sell all this furniture and pay my rent, somehow. And she was like, oh, I do, essential oils. I'll come sell some stuff. Why don't we call a few more ladies? I'm like, yeah, let's. And I was like, oh, I have some people I could call. And so all of a sudden we were having the very first ladies artisan market in my backyard, at my house in the Palisades in Kona. And we had like over 75 people show up to shop. And we had 14. Yeah, we had 14 female vendors in my yard, and we had a musician, and it was like wildly successful. And I did well that night selling stuff, but what I really realized was that I don't want to be making and selling stuff. I want to be putting on these events and supporting other women. And the feeling I had from getting to promote these other women and being a part of this thing, it was just like this, oh my God, it was like I was getting new air in me. I was in such a dark place, but it was like this light. Oh my God, this is something. And it just kind of felt like it saved my life. This creation, this like crazy idea just kind of saved me in that moment. And then, so that was the first one. And then 3 months later, I put on another one that was like huge in downtown Kona at this old warehouse kind of place. And we had 28 female vendors. We had a whole circus show that went on with like trapeze artists and aerial silks and fire dancers. And we even had like a beautiful woman pole dancer, all women performing and selling. And we had 400 people from the island show up to the event.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, I met you through, I think it was when I was a speaker at the
Women's Conference.
The Women's Leadership Conference, right?
Yes.
And I saw women out. Were you one of that? Were you out there? And when I signed up, like as for an email, like giving you guys my email.
Yes.
There were a couple of ladies there. I think you were there, that you were one of them, because there were a couple of ladies.
Yeah, that was me and Allie. Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, that was to promote our networking mixer that for our 1-year anniversary. Yeah, and when I first started the markets, the networking wasn't even in the picture yet. That came way later because I had that big event, right? And then I couldn't find another place to have something like that because that place turned over ownership. And there was really nowhere else in town that I could pull off an event of that size with that many people. So I kind of just had to like go back to the drawing board. I was actually frustrated by it. I was like, God, I miss the women. I miss the connection. I miss planning something big. What can I do? What can I do? And I was just kind of like, and then the voice came back and it was like, start a networking group, have a mixer, surround yourself with like-minded women. And I was like, yes. This is what I need to do. Mm-hmm. So that's when I created the networking group. And I thought, maybe we'll get a few hundred women in here. I didn't know that we would grow to over 1,200 members this fast and that we'd be putting on these gigantic mixers with, 100 women, 200 women showing up. I had no idea that day in my yard would lead to this moment now. You could never have told me that. Because at the time, I couldn't even see that there was much beyond the market. But it's just amazing how things can shift and change as you grow. Other opportunities become in your atmosphere, and you're like, oh wait, there's no reason why I can't do this. You know?
And I think you really hit the nail on the head with, part of this whole Valence Fitness show is I thought, okay, I want everybody to be fit in all those areas that I discussed before. But what I wanted people to really hone in on outside of that, when they're feeling down and they're feeling alone, or they're feeling at their last whatever, or they just can't get out of their own self, is to get out of your own self and do something for someone else.
It's like my Bible code. I tell you, if I'm not in service of something bigger than myself or of others, then I don't really know who I am, and I don't do well. I get kind of depressed. I mean, this COVID situation, after having the huge women's conference that we were able to put on earlier this year, which seems like a year ago now, after like the high of pulling that off at the Fairmont Orchid, you know, and having these amazing speakers all day, to go to like nothing, I was like, what do I, who am I? What do I do? I mean, I know I'm a mom, and that's not my number one job, but otherwise, well, who am I? I had a really hard time right after that.
Well,
It was
you
like,
know who you are. You know that you are a giver. You know that you're a person that thrives off of helping others. I mean, I'm right there with you, sister. So I know that feeling. You know, running a couple of, I got sucked into another one now. I now admin for a new one, teens and tweens. So yeah, and I'm telling you, I didn't think I would either. And you get right back on the horse. You know, it's a different stage of life. You know, but I'm in it again.
yes.
But there's something, like you said, it's like giving of yourself. But you know who you are. You're the type of person that you're going to find a way to
Yes.
shift and make things happen again. So what has happened now? What is going on? What is the shift? Can you share anything? Because I know you had something to say. I don't know if I can ask you that. I forgot to ask you. Can I ask you? What's going
Yes.
on?
So because we are, you know, the world seems to be moving in a really online direction right now. And of course, I will always prefer in person anything. But, you know, in times like this, you have to be willing to pivot, to diversify, to innovate, to get out of your own way and just go with the flow, right? And so the idea is to take a lot of what we do online, and we are rolling out a membership platform with a bunch of different tiers with varying price points, so that not any woman will be excluded. This membership is so value packed. There's a lot of memberships out there for women. I haven't seen anything like what we're doing. We're providing so much value. I've had people tell me like, this is too much. And I'm like, no, this is what I want to give. This is what's coming through. This is what's happening. So I don't care if it's a lot for that price. That's what we need here, you know? And not only that, I am developing a 12-month program for the real serious woman. And I can't give away too much, but basically this is to focus on how to be like kind of a more whole businesswoman, right? Because we all have our home life, our children, family, all the extenuating life stuff that we deal with besides just trying to get our work done, whether you're an entrepreneur or you work for somebody else. There's, you know, we're always looking for the balance, right? Which I feel like sometimes is really elusive, but if you put certain things in place for yourself, you know, certain mindset, if you work on your mindset, if you have certain practices and good habits, then you can really be doing life much better than if you're not. And so the idea is to create a program where you have this huge education component, but then you also have this wholeness and wellness component that goes along with it, with challenges and community around it and accountability partnerships. So it's really in depth and robust, and we're still actually in the full development phase of all this. And I don't know if I've ever been more excited or scared of anything. No,
the unknown, yes, the unknown, how it's going to work out, you know?
Yeah, it's scary because I'm investing a lot of time and money that, you know, I don't really have, as we're in a pandemic, and all of my events I had going were canceled. But I believe in this. I feel like there's a reason why I've been getting this kind of creative energy around it, that it needs to be out there. And I know that for me, implementing these kinds of ways of being has dramatically changed my life. You know, waking up with a total like you know, going to bed, making sure you have your whole day planned out the day before, that sets you up for success. When you have no plan, you're just, you know, spinning your wheels all day. You know, managing your time, making sure to do some sort of workout, some sort of like grounding practice, making sure you're fueling your body with healthy food, not just coffee and a muffin later, you know, just really focusing on all the different areas of your life that affect you in your business, which affects everything else in your life, right? So that's the idea, is to try to give something to women that's really easy, accessible. They don't have to really think too hard about it. It's all there for them. And we guide you through the whole process with tons of love and compassion, and, you know, a little kick in the butt too, because this is for this woman.
That's awesome. So I'm excited to hear more about that when that comes out. So do you have it's like a collaborative effort with specialists in their own fields, or how is that coming about?
Yes. Yes. So, you know, the mission for LAM has always been to support as many women as we can. We're all about collaboration over competition. And so, you know, there's a lot of women out there that are creating programs and education that's just from their own personal like experience and knowledge, which is great. But I wanted to do something where we can include as many women as possible to get in front of each other. And that there's so many women who, especially God, on this island, there's so many amazing, talented women here. It's unbelievable, like how many I meet every day. I really wanted to give everyone else a platform to be a part of this. It's not just about me at all. This is so much bigger than me. So yes, we're gonna have experts in their fields in all different aspects. We're gonna have yoga teachers, nutritionists. We're gonna have, you know, branding experts. And from all over. Definitely, we're gonna pull a lot from the Hawaiian Islands, but also women from other parts of the world. And this program, what's great about it being online is that we can reach more women out there in the world and not just locally on the Big Island, which of course I love that we have such a solid community here, but my goal is global. I want to meet as many amazing women as I can and connect them to each other as I can. You know, that's really
amazing. Good. Well, I look forward to seeing that happen. I know it will because of your drive and the love that people have for you and what you're doing. It's very transparent. So I think that it will go very well for you. I do want to ask you something. When you were going through all that adversity and trying to find that way, what did you lean on? What was it that kept you sane? Was it a person that, you know, like a mentor, or was it your faith, or what was it that kept you going?
I just really couldn't fail my son. I just could not. For me personally, there was no choice in this. And yes, I leaned on family and friends, of course. And yes, I had a faith that like somehow, some way we will get through this. It was kind of a blind faith because I really didn't see how we were going to get through it. Not only did my partner leave, but my landlord had started also just like being really insane at the same time. It's hard to even describe. It felt like I was in it's a Twilight Zone episode. Just the weirdest things were happening and I couldn't control any of it. And I would just start to like laugh sometimes. I'm just like, how is this happening? Like, and I had done a lot of work on myself in the past, thankfully, to where at times I could step out and be like, okay, you are in the dark night of the soul. You are in like this is one of the hardest times of your life. You're in it deep, just one foot in front of the other. Just don't give up. That was my thing. Like, just don't give up. Just don't give up. This sucks. There's nothing worse than this right now, but like, just don't give up.
So you embraced that it sucks. You know, it was like, you got to accept that things can be bad, but how to turn it around and make it better. If there was one thing you could share, you know, that you feel maybe we haven't even discussed, is there anything that we've missed? You know, what is a good message you'd like to leave?
If you have no idea what to do with yourself, then I say, first of all, don't make any plans until you have more clarity, but really like volunteer your time. Do something for somebody else. Step outside of yourself. That is what got me through it. I had some friends at the time that were, you know, one was getting married. I was like, I'll help. I'll do anything. I'll help you plan your wedding. I helped them plan their whole wedding. There was a friend who was planning a surprise, like flash mob wedding proposal. I was like, I'll do that. I'll help. Anywhere I could go help, I did, because I was just like, I can't stand being in here anymore. Like, you can go round and round with a subject that hurts you, and it just, after a while, you're being the dead horse. You can't change it, right? What can you do? So it's just like getting some like energy and like some momentum to like discover who I was again. Because when you're with somebody who is on drugs, they're abusive, you know, mentally. He never obviously hit me, but the things he said to me were so hurtful, and I took them personally because that's someone that I loved. and but it wasn't really the true him talking, but it still greatly affected me. And stuff about how I mother, and the deepest parts of myself were being torn up by this person. So it left me very insecure. And so the only way I was able to kind of rebuild my self-esteem was to be of service to others. And not because my value is how much I do for others, but just because like I was needed and wanted and appreciated, and it just kind of gave me some new energy and new life. And I was like, okay, I have lots of things I can give and offer this world. And that really helps. So I would say just try to be of service where you can. If you have the energy, don't give up no matter what. Just even if you have to like lay in bed and cry all day and just get one thing done, great. Or not, you can take those dark days and just sit with it. I would say try not to avoid your pain, because the quickest way through it is to just get through it, and when you avoid all that, it just leads to hell later. I am now in like such an amazing relationship that I didn't even know was possible. Because of everything I went through, I'm a way different woman, and I attracted a man who's like very supportive and there for me, and a wonderful guy to my son. And, none of that would have happened had I not gone through all this. So like good is going to happen later. If you're going through it now, things will change. That's the only thing you can count on, right?
Yeah,
Change.
I think that there is something, I mean, you do attract what you put out and what you are doing for others. I really, truly, honestly believe that.
Oh, for sure. Without a doubt.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you have a great man in your life, relationship.
And he's cute.
And he's cute. I know, I was like, I looked at you, saw your profile picture, I saw him on there. I'm like, oh, okay. I see you.
And what's amazing is that he has a special needs son also who's 18, but I met someone who totally understood my situation, and which is mind blowing to me that I could attract somebody who really gets, being a special needs parent. So
yeah, I could see how much he's impacted you in a positive way. You could see it on you. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to see. Well, I wish you all the best with these future ventures. I know you will continuously make a difference in today's world and how it evolves. I know you will consistently evolve and tweak and twist and turn whichever direction it needs to go. And I'm glad that your son is doing well. That's the most important thing. You haven't failed him. And that
nope.
is a blessing,
he's doing great. He's talking so much. We've got him really on a schedule, so he understands when he can have food and when he can't. Sometimes we have our little moments where he sneaks in there, but for the most part, he's really happy and healthy, and I'm just so grateful. And stay tuned. Look for our launch for LAM. In November, it's our 3-year anniversary for the LAM networking group, which I can't believe it's already been 3 years.
Has it been that long since I've known you? Was it then, or no, a year later?
Yeah, it's been
really?
a while.
Oh, wow.
Because that was right before our 1 year. So this is our 3-year in November, and we're going to have like obviously we're not going to do it in-person parties. LAM will not be a COVID hotspot, and we want to keep people safe. But we're going to have a big online party with giveaways, and we're going to be sharing about all this. And then the idea is to go live with the program January 1.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing it and hearing about it. And I thank you so much. And you also said the word grateful. I think that has a lot to do with it. You're grateful for anything and everything that happens. And I'm grateful that you decided to come on here today and share yourself with everyone. And I will be putting this on a YouTube link like the others. So individuals can take their time to look it up, and it has made a difference. I know it has. We've gotten some feedback, and people will take from your story. So thank you so much, Aesha.
For having me. This was such a neat opportunity. I adore you, Estania. You're amazing. And thank you for sharing stories of adversity in a time when we really need any sort of hope and, connection that we can get right now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so all of this can be found on Manners and Momentum on YouTube. You can also find information on the links and the invites on Instagram and Facebook as far as it's all under Manners and Momentum. I figured I'd just keep it all under the same branding. Okay, well, thank you, Aesha. You have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.